Hello guys, and welcome to Let's Play Alliance. Today I'm going to teach you something I don't teach often, and that is color grading. I think I taught mock this way, but I'm going to teach you guys a bit of a different way. So I have various footage over here, everywhere from back to End of Neutrality, to Backyard Wars 4, to Drugden, the music video, to some of my random drone footage I got in the winter. So today I'm going to show you how to color grade various types of footage depending on your gear. So we're going to start off with the Nikon Footage. Nikon Footage is very easy on the computer. And so, yeah, it's just me talking. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see what it says.
2,
Up 2.
1. What the hell?
And that's, as you can see, the original footage from End of Neutrality. So, just going to cut it there. And we're going to grade this sucker, okay? Let's find a nice frame where he's kind of still. There we go. Okay, so on Nikon I was shooting in flat footage. So color grading is pretty similar across the platform. So as you can see here, you do not want anything going above 100 or anything going below 0, or otherwise they'll not be visible. Very simple stuff. So when you start with a flat thing, what I tend to do is I tend to go and turn down the shadows a bit. And if the highlights are blown out, I tend to, turn down the highlights too, but here they're not. So I'm going to actually raise the highlights a tiny bit. And as you can see, that's already doing some work right there. A lot of red because of my living room has a lot of red in it. It's actually dining room. Okay, so usually with normal flat things, there's enough saturation once you turn down the shadows, so you do not need to do anything with that. Then you do some simple creative color grading. So say I wanted to make it like every single action movie that has the highlights as an orangish color and the shadows as a bluish color. And there you go, action movie look. You can play around, if I just turn these two off, with the creative looks. I tend not to do this because it just makes it look ugly. Like Matrix green makes it look like it's in the Matrix, but not that much. Sometimes it simulates stuff like Kodak. Oh, actually that doesn't look too bad. See, look at that. Some of them are good. And these are great starting points for if you don't know how to or do not have the time to color grade. You can just flip on Gold Western and then you can make a Western out of that. I tend to choose none because I always have enough time to color grade like that. Well, I would not use this sort of color grading in this situation, but you get the deal. You get the deal. Now, let's go to a secondary shot that we used in Backyard Wars. No, not Backyard Wars. End of Neutrality. Haven't actually edited with this footage in a long time. So here we have a simple shot of the den. Now, as you see, the sky is white, so you might want to try and pull that back so you get some of the sky back. But as you see up here, it is just gone. Alright, so how about we go to shadows and bring those down a bit. There we go, we're starting to get something. There's mock. Is that mock? Yeah, it's mock. Let's get mock out of the way a bit. There, okay. Then of course, if you did the white balance wrong, you want to click this little eyedropper tool and then just select a white. And it will set the white balance, but I got this one correct. So let's do, for instance, green shadow. Oh, that looks terrible. You only want to use these very slightly. So if I use green shadows very slightly like that, now it gives an unpleasant tone. And give like some purple highlights. Look at that. Very subtle, but makes it look a bit disgusting. I would never use that color grade unless I was like doing something about like a fake Matrix or something. So yeah, that's what we have there. And that's all the footage we have for Nikon. So I'm going to go and move over to Panasonic G85, which I used for Drugden. So as you see, we need to kind of set it to the frame size because it was filmed in 4K. We had a lot of foot traffic here. So we go to a nice place where it is sharp. There we go. So Panasonic has a bit of a flatter profile than Nikon when it comes to its profile. And it tends to, you know, make the highlights a bit dim. So you might want to turn those up. So what I start with here, with this, since they also turn down the contrast, is, of course, I pull down the shadows a bit. And I might actually pull up the highlights. As you see there, we got a bit of a higher contrast now. And I might want to turn the saturation to 115. Now give nice color. What I did here for Drugden is I also went to the color wheels. And outside I made it nice blue shadows and blue highlights as well. Made it look cold and unnerving. This is sort of what I got for Drugden. And with flatter footage like this from Panasonic and Canon cameras, you can color grade a lot more in depth. Like, for instance, Nikon cameras, as you see, they don't turn down the saturation at all, and this just looks normal. So, the Panasonic, you might want to, you know, turn up that saturation and give a tiny bit more of a push in the color wheels. Let's move on to another shot from Drugden. This shot with the lollipop. So the lollipop, beautiful background. I think I underexposed it a tiny bit. So we're going to pull down the shadows. Actually, no, the shadows, so we're underexposed. I want to pull up the exposure by half a stop. See, now it looks a bit more properly exposed. Still pretty low. So we might want to actually, if we were to properly expose this image, we'd actually go ahead and drag the exposure bar here. As you can see, that's properly exposed, but it looks terrible. The reason I underexposed it is because I want it to look kind of creepy and unnerving. So I'll just bring up the highlights and then pull down the shadows a bit. And then add a bit more color. So we want to see that lollipop and that creepy interior thing. So you see we get this. And then with the color wheels, I actually went ahead and warmed everything up just a tiny bit. And I cooled down the highlights a bit to give a creepy thing. As you can see at the end, I was trying to go for a look of, a look of, you know, him doing cocaine or heroin or whatever, and then him dying. And I tried to color grade it the same color as what movies show heroin looks like on a spoon. So I'm going to go to the last shot we have for this, where we have the Twizzlers. Yes, we used Twizzlers. And we also had the lollipop. Yep. We actually never used this shot. Me panning over the entire thing and it not being in focus. So we're going to go back here. Alright. Set. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay. So now we are going to go do our basic correction, as you see right there. Never touch whites and blacks unless you have to. They kind of drastically... they kind of drastically destroy the image. If I turn whites up, for instance, makes the topmost part brighter. But you really do not want to mess with these two unless you absolutely have to. Highlights and shadows is a better thing to mess with. And it gives you a bit of a whoa. Okay, yeah. So as you see, we're definitely getting something here. And this, I would say, the white balance is completely off. So that little tap just got me perfect white balance again. And as you can see, not night and day yet, but it's very close. So now we are going to save and move on to our DLog footage. I'll show you a bit of a trick here that I use Look at that. Look at that lollipop. Looks amazing. So now I'm going to show you a trick that I use with curves to make the image destroyed. Now, here we go. So in Backyard Wars 3, I had a sections that were just red. You want to do that? Then you just drag here with blue, drag here with green, and look at that, you're already getting some red. Then you just mess with the red curve. Look at that. Look at that. Same sort of idea, right? Night, heaven, and hell. So yeah, that's what I do normally for that sort of thing. I did that also with Promise. Promise, I use that a lot with. Also, a thing you can do back in the Curves tab is make only one color appear. So what I do for that is I go and drag the red up a bit. As you can see, that really saturates the image, but I'm going to add some points here. And as you can see, I'm going to drag these down. And you can see that only the lollipop is in color, a selective color sort of thing. You can tweak which colors on the spectrum can be shown. So you get this amazing little effect where only the lollipop is in color. It's really nice to use. I use this in Murder of Bethesda Ridge. Okay, so let's move on to the DLog Footage, Backyard Wars 4. So save a bit because DLog is a pain to work with. So when you have a DLog footage, what you really have to do is you have to bring in a LUT. If you color grade like normal, pull up the contrast, pull up the saturation, it's going to look kind of weird. So what you're going to want to do is pull in the official LUT. You do not want to get all these other LUTs that YouTubers are giving, because when you do a LUT, you cannot actually tweak it. What I want you to do whenever you make a thing is to save a preset by going ... and then save preset. That will let you save presets for color grades you've done in the past, which I have here. So look, I have the Backyard Wars color grade right there, Backyard Wars 4. So if I wanted to put in the Backyard Wars 4 color grade, look at that, Backyard Wars 4 color grade. So I'm going to show you how to grade DLog footage. You bring in your Vlog or whatever log type you have from Fuji, Sony, or Panasonic, and then drop that in. So you're going to see it brings out the image a bit more. Of course, what you're going to usually want to do is pull down the shadows a tiny bit, because you can see the shadows are blown out. And you're going to pull down the highlights, and then definitely pull down the shadows, unless you are going for the artistic, sort of light shadows tone. What I go for is dark shadows. As you see, we're already getting relatively similar thing to the actual color grade. So then what I do here is I definitely pull up the saturation to 125 or above, because DLog loves to pull down that saturation. Color wheels. I almost always use these with DLog. As you can see, they're having even less effect this time. As you can see, I sort of got a Backyard Wars 3 kind of look right here. I made it look like Backyard Wars 3. Now, say you want to use one of your presets that you used for non-DLog things, and you want to use it for DLog. Well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull in your preset. For instance, let's say I want it to look, for instance, I want it to look like Murder of Bethesda Ridge, okay? Boom. Yep. Hey. Boom. Look at that. So we don't have any red in this image, so it's going to look black and white. But of course, once you pull in that preset, you want to pull in the LUT too, so it's more accurately represents everything. And there you go, Murder Bethesda Ridge look. Of course, if you want to clear the look, just click clear, and it'll go back to Lumetri color. And it'll look normal back in the middle. I created a little DLog neutral thing, and I don't know what I was thinking when I was creating this thing. I went way too high for everything. So I'm going to go delete that thing. You're going to find that some of your presets later on, once you get to better and better cameras, will not work as well. For instance, my old Backyard Wars 3 preset, we'll check out how that works on here, and then put in the DLog 709. That still works. In fact, it looks better now on this, as you can see here. it looks very nice. Blows out the highlights a bit, as I already put the highlights back down to 100. And reset. There, that's what normal DLog footage looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and put in Backyard Wars 4. And something happened. I think what happened is yeah, there we go. I really must have color graded Backyard Wars 4 pretty deeply. I think at the beginning, yeah, I can't tell you guys what's happening. This makes no sense why the greens are higher. Sometimes it does freak out like this. Oh, it's because we have several effects. Make sure you don't have several Lumetri colors stacked on top of each other. Otherwise, you're going to get stacked results. So there you go. You got normal grade for Backyard Wars 4. Good. Now, what we're going to want to do now is go over and go to some more Backyard Wars 4 footage. I'm not sure which one this is. Oh, this is a very prime example of very hard to color grade. Look at this. It's all in the middle. Okay. So what we're going to want to do here, it's me crossing the stream, yes, and with the big chase. Of course, drag in the thing. As you can see, it's not that good. You want to, for this sort of stuff, you really want to pull down the shadows. What you might even want to do is pull down the blacks a tiny bit, then pull down the shadows. And look at this. I added a bit of black back into my jacket. So only in extreme situations like this, you're really going to want to mess with the blacks because they can really screw up your image. Let's go 150 here. You can see I added a lot color back in there. As you can see, it's starting to shape up. Going to color wheels, and we're going to go with blue shadows and yellow highlights, and there you go. You got some sort of color grading thing going on. Nice warm feel. Now, let's see what I did with the Backyard Wars 4 color grade. And look at that. What I did here is I pulled down the highlights a lot. Pulled down the shadows a lot. And went kind of crazy with highlights and shadows right here. A lot towards yellow and a lot towards blue here. And see that? Because there's a lot more blue down here than yellow up here, and that's how the highlights and shadows work. You never really want to mess with midtones because that will change the color of your overall image, and that's not good. So now that we're done with color grading our, geez, it takes a while. Let's go back to color. Now we're done with color grading our normal camera images. What about for the people, those of you that are aerial photographers? And no, not photographers of Ariel, the Little Mermaid. So what you're going to want to shoot in is DLog. Now, DLog is basically another log profile. It's for the DJI Phantom cameras. So you can see here, there we go. We got this beautiful landscape of North Carolina. I forgot where in North Carolina, but it's in North Carolina. So for DLog, you're going to want to try the DLog that premiere the Phantom Rec 709. That might give you some stuff, but you can see here it does not work. You might want to try other log things. Those might work, but usually not. DJI does have an official DLog to Rec 709 thing, but that works very badly. And it's usually for newer drones. For instance, I have the Phantom 3 Standard, which shoots in 8-bit video, so it doesn't color grade as well. So for these extreme situations, I'm definitely going to mess with these two right here. So we're going to start, as always, with highlights. Look at that. See, the sun is right here. Now contrast, you don't usually want to mess with contrast because highlights and shadows do the same thing, but a bit more, with a bit more practicality. So as you see here, we got some nice nice, good orange and yellows right around here for the sun. Might want to mess with these a bit. Look at that. There. If I mess with the whites like that, as you can see here. Look at that. I was able to successfully bring it down. So sometimes you do want to mess with these. Now the blacks, you do not. Look at this. It crushes it. Or it flattens it. You do not want to touch these usually. Now, if you want to go to color wheels and match, you can go ahead and do whatever look you want. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a warm look for the shadows. No, a tiny bit of a cool look for the shadows. And then do a very warm look for the highlights. As you can see here, it gives us more of a sunset look, because that's what it is. It's actually a sunset, and I filmed it high up, 400 feet in the air. So that's the sort of stuff you're going to want to do. And let's say we have a sprawling landscape you want to capture. There we go. Got a city in the background and a bunch of town, a tiny little neighborhood right there. So same thing, right? Pull down shadows. Look at this. Pull down shadows. Pull down highlights. Look, look, look. Ready? This looks normal and gray and muddled. You pull it down, you can see all that detail that just comes right back, seemingly out of nowhere. Look at this. Extends that. Now, you can see that city in the background, we have a little sunset right here going on. So, definitely want to bump up that saturation. And then, what we can get is, if we want to bring up the shadows again, then we can, if you guys want to accentuate the details here, you can of course bring up the shadows, but usually I want to keep them down with them focusing on that city back there. You can see I need to set the frame size again. Look at that. Look at that. Now, right now I'm working in 1080p timeline, so that's why I'm setting to frame size. It allows you to quickly set the footage to the same size as the frame. So for shadows, I'm definitely going to pull a bit towards the green side. Or, no, I might pull it just a tiny bit towards the green side. The light's definitely towards the orange side. And there. Looks like we got a nice color grade with nice banding clouds. Let's take a look at what this looks like. That looks quite amazing, actually. And now we're gonna go into harsh situations. So harsh drone situation, I put it right into the sun. Oh, that sun is right up at 100. How can we fix this? Short answer, not really. Long answer, it'll take a lot of work. So we're gonna start definitely with highlights, because that's where everything's blowing out. So pull down the highlights as much as you can. We got some of the blue sky back. And we might want to pull down the whites a tiny bit, and that might get a bit of data back, but usually not. So we're going to pull it down like -15, and we'll see it'll bring a tiny bit of information above the sun back. But the sun, usually when you're videoing it, it will be white. Just like when you look at the sun, it will be white. Or yellowish for some reason. I don't know why it's yellowish when it sets, but it's nice. So we're definitely going to go in and pull that saturation ever so slightly up. This time very slightly, because we do not want that to be too colorful. Now we're going to, of course, pull down the shadows. Well, you pull down the shadows here, we're going to be focusing on sunset. But I think I want the buildings to show a tiny bit, so I'm going to just pull them down ever so slightly. So we get our color wheels, shadows bluish. Actually, we want to keep our shadows pretty neutral, but we definitely want our highlights to be more orangish to accentuate the sunset feel of this image. And as you can see, we went from this mess to this. And I think this looks beautiful. Alright, a part I forgot, sorry guys, is indoor shots with very, very, very interesting lighting. So as you see here we have Mach with the guitar solo. Yeah. There we go. That's a good place to color grade. So you can see it's pretty much split here. Because we have that red background of my logo. So what we're going to want to do with this, and what I did with this, is we're just going all out with shadows and highlights and everything like that. So first of all, it's vlog footage. So vlog it like normal. Would you look at that? It pretty much does it for me. Might want to, you know, if I wanted to make Mach a complete silhouette, I would. But I liked having, you know, small features like the golden part of the gun. And if I wanted to just be a silhouette, I could just pull down shadows and I would win. If I wanted highlights, that wouldn't really change much. So what I did here is just added a bit of saturation, and that's it. That's how I got this shot. It's pretty easy to do sometimes. You can see I put the red straight toward the top. This is full saturation and full brightness. So guys, that is it for the video. Tell me what you guys think in the description. If you want more videos on tutorials on editing like these, please comment below. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.